Today is the anniversary of the march, the rally that we did on the steps of the Supreme Court. We didn't win that battle. We weren't able to stop them from making the worst decision ever when it comes to the lives of people experiencing homelessness, but we're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to fight until we have no more jails, arrests, or handcuffs, and we have housing. We're going to keep fighting until we have enough medical care in this country that people that are in need of medical and behavioral health have those opportunities. And we will not stop until housing now is a reality in the richest country in the world. So we have a lot of speakers today, so I'm not going to be here for long. I want to start out, though, with a speaker that I truly admire, who is, to me, the champion when it comes to homeless issues in the Congress of the United States. She came into Congress as a mother, as a family member, who really fought hard in her own community to overcome challenges herself. But she brought that fighting spirit to Congress. She helped move legislation. I met her on the steps of this very building, making sure that people weren't evicted. And I am so grateful that she took the time. I know she has quite a bit to do, but I am so grateful to start off our speeches today with one of the most amazing elected officials that I've ever known. Please, a warm welcome for Cori Bush.
Wow, thank you for that. That was such a beautiful introduction. And thank you to each and every one of you for being here today. To all of you defenders of the people and fighters for justice and directly impacted people, we stand here today at a crossroads, I would say, because the very foundations of our democracy are being challenged, and they are being undermined by those who would silence our voices and line their pockets with our hard-earned futures. That's why we've gathered. We've gathered to unleash the power of the people against the oligarchs and the corrupt elites who long ago began buying our leaders, buying politicians, so that the needs of the people aren't as much a priority as their pockets are. But the world is waiting because the world is hurting. The world is searching for answers. And today, we will step up. We refuse to be pawns in a game rigged by wealth and by privilege. We stand not as isolated voices, but as a mighty chorus of hope. Look at the folks behind me. This chorus of hope, this chorus of resilience and of unity. We stand here because we believe every person deserves dignity. Because we know that our communities cannot bear the crushing weight of discrimination or of bigotry, because no one should be oppressed by a tyranny or forced to choose between their own survival and their humanity. Housing and health care are for every single person across the nation. And no, that is not extreme. It is not radical. But what it is long overdue. And so when I speak about housing, when I heard last year that the Supreme Court's grants past decision made it legal to punish people for sleeping outside, and I showed up with you all at the Supreme Court, my stomach dropped. The news took me back to living in an old SUV that served as both my home and our transportation. I was working a full-time job as a child care center program director, and I had two little ones. My son was 1 year old and my daughter was only a few months. All of our belongings were stuffed in trash bags on the back seat and on the floor, and the back seat was folded flat down. We kept a fold-and playpen in the rear, and that's where my kids slept. No matter how many blankets we piled on, some nights the temperature dropped so low that we simply just could not get warm inside the car, because we could only let the car run for so long because I only had so much money for gas. We lived in that vehicle because at least it was something. Some of our friends who were living with housing instability, those folks didn't even have that, and so I refused to take housing, any type of shelter from those who needed it more. Hearing that ruling, I could feel its cruelty. I remembered lying awake. I remember being terrified that my children would be taken away from me for having nowhere else to go. Although I knew it was a temporary situation, I still worried that that my kids might not survive the night. And so I only slept when sheer exhaustion took over, because I wanted to make sure that my kids were alive by morning. Being unhoused, it offered no peace to me or to my family. It was violent. It was full of fear, and it was full of uncertainty, and I was utterly worn down. And then years later, as a nurse, I remember I sat with patients of every age and every background, many uninsured and underinsured, who faced impossible choices just to survive. I listened to them as they told me that they cut their insulin doses to make them last, or they reused dirty old needles because they couldn't afford to buy new ones, or they shared that last vial or that last pen of medication with their loved one who had none. I watched too many lose limbs due to unmanaged diabetes, and some never left the hospital. When I think about the issue of mental health, I care for people who skipped monthly injections because they couldn't afford them, only to return when those symptoms became so unbearable. They had to choose between paying their rent and filling their prescription. And rent usually won. My colleagues and I worked grueling shifts to track down community resources, but the funding simply was not there. Now, with these looming spending cuts, we face an even deeper crisis. The people we fight for every day are already stretched beyond their breaking point. And they will suffer more. And they will suffer most of all. If we don't demand universal health care and restore our social safety net programs, these stories won't just continue, they will get far worse. So in 2021, I think about when I chose to protest the expiration of the federal eviction moratorium during the deadly COVID-19 pandemic, right there on those steps. And when many of you showed up next to me and we camped out, or those of you that supported from your hometowns, in your communities, I carried that fear, that anxiety, that worry, that exhaustion and that violence with me from when I lived on the street. I remember the pain. I remembered what it was like to want to close my eyes for a little bit longer, but the lights of the sun came out when I finally was able to rest. And I vowed that no other family would endure what I did, what mine did. So I took a stand, we took a stand together, and in that stand, we organized. Because waiting for somebody else to deliver change was no longer an option. Change was us. Today, our government has rolled back healthcare access. We know they've jeopardized prenatal care for young mothers. They've threatened to detain families seeking the human right of shelter. We see it. Our hearts bear witness. But you all, with that same courage, that same courage, that force that has always defined our work, we step up. We step forward because we deserve leaders who work for us, not for the rich and powerful. And we are the leaders. We deserve a world where freedom is not a privilege for the few, but the right of all. Where every community thrives in peace and prosperity, starting with our most basic needs and healthcare available to everyone without judgment or without ridiculous red tape. So we push forward with unyielding determination, following the example of those who came before us, whose sacrifices remind us that the fight for equality, the fight for dignity, it must continue until it's won. Power belongs to the people, and so let power speak truth. Rallying under the banner of justice, under compassion and that unbreakable hope. And as the Trump administration and its puppeteers build walls of oppression around us, we will be ready to tear them down and build bridges of solidarity that unite us all in just, equitable moments and our future. A future where they seek to divide us, we'll allow it to unite us. Where they instill fear or try to, we will cultivate courage. And where they sow injustice, we will sow solidarity. And so, how do we rise? We, of course, get involved with the National Coalition for the Homeless. They have a 10-point plan and work already ready. And so, we understand this is a survival moment. And survival is only the first step. We must demand decisive action from our local and state and federal legislators. We need action that matches the gravity of the threat to our lives and our futures, the threat that leaves our communities vulnerable as our democratic rights erode. We demand radical safety. We demand true abundance. We demand an unshakable dignity for every person. And so as I close, I know that the nights can feel endless. I know the weight can feel crushing. But remember, we are writing history together. And history is shaped by the bold. The Trump administration, they bet on our exhaustion, get us all tied up. They count on us retreating into despair. But despair doesn't fuel change. Our righteous anger does. We will defend people together. So every individual, every group, every organization represented here today, we must fight for a world where every human is being valued. We say yes to housing and health care and no to funding cuts, fines, and jails. We fight for a world where every life is cherished, where threats don't back us down but thrust us forward. We are not a crowd known for being lukewarm or afraid. The road ahead, we know it may be long and the challenges many, but our collective spirit is invincible. We are the change makers. We are the truth tellers, and we are the builders of a better tomorrow. So we rise united and unbreakable, and let's create the future that we know we deserve and we know that is possible. I believe that we will win.
So please, again, a round of applause for the Honorable Cori Bush. We really, again, appreciate all of the organizations that have partnered with us. And just to name a few, we have the National Alliance to End Homelessness, the National Coalition of Housing Justice, the National Homeless Law Center, Baselton Institute, and many others now. Many groups have come together to put this on, and many of you may not know this, but there are over 30 cities that are doing action that is simultaneous with this action right now. So the voice of people that need justice is loud, and we are very grateful for all of you being here and all of you that are joining us by the simulcast. As we talked about, the issue that brought us here a year ago was a Supreme Court decision that made homelessness legal and the criminalization, jails, fines, and arrest of homeless people legal. And since that time, we've seen an explosion. And so one of our partners, the National Homeless Law Center, is here to join us today, and I want to introduce their Director of Messaging, Mr. Jesse Rabinovich. I probably got the title wrong, but Jesse's also going to be my co-MC today. Going to bring Jesse to the microphone to talk about criminalization. Jesse?
So before we get started, we have a cool opportunity. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, his door is open. So Donald's going to lead us in a chant because his door is open and he can hear us. He needs to hear our voice right now.
All right, so we warmed up a little earlier, so we need everybody to join in. What do we need? Housing! When do we need it? Now! What do we need? Housing! When do we need it? Now! The people united can never be defeated. The people united can never be defeated. The people united can never be defeated. What do we need? Housing! When do we need it? Now! Speaker Johnson, we need what? Housing! When do we need it? Now! Speaker Johnson, what do we need? Housing! When do we need it? Now! What do we need? Housing! When do we need it? Now! Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. As Donald said, my name is Jesse, and I have the honor of leading the Housing Not Handcuffs campaign and working at the National Homelessness Law Center. I think my new title is going to be Director of Messaging. I like that. Thanks, Donald. Last year, on this date, I was right down the street with about 700 of you who came together to demand that the Supreme Court focus on housing, not handcuffs. Raise your hand if you were here with us last year. Yay! Raise your hand if you're new to the movement. Welcome. We need you all here. Not new to the struggle, that's right. So much has changed in the past year. Since the Supreme Court shamefully ruled that cities can arrest and jail people for sleeping outside, over 160 cities across the country have done just that. More people are being pushed into homelessness by rising rents, and these backwards, expensive, and anti-homeless laws are already making homelessness worse. At the same time, the folks in the White House talk openly about forcing homeless people into government-run detention camps, cutting vital housing services, and making more people homeless. That's right. Shame. And still, so much remains the same between last year and today. People living outside are still resilient, brilliant, and in need and want of housing, not blame. Racism is still a leading cause of homelessness. DC's Mayor Bowser is still evicting encampments while underfunding housing and overfunding police. Politicians of both parties are still blaming people for being homeless, even though nobody in this country is having an easy time paying rent because there's just no housing that anybody can afford. Yeah. Billionaires with deep ties to Elon Musk and the Trump administration, the same people with their fingerprints on funding cuts and all over the Grants Pass case, are still peddling dangerous, racist myths and laws across the country that make it easier to throw homeless people in jail. And still 1 year later, we're still strong and we're getting stronger. We are beating back billionaire-backed laws on shoestring budgets because we have things that billionaires will never have. We have truth, we have compassion, and we have people power. Yes, we do. We stand here today clear-eyed about the threat in front of us. Authoritarian regimes like the Trump administration test out their policies on communities they think are disposable. And in America, that includes people who live outside. But we know what happens to homeless folks, to trans folks, to migrants, to black and brown folks today is what they want to do to everybody who disagrees with them tomorrow. And we are here today to say with one voice, nobody, especially not people who live outside, is disposable. If you come for one of us, you damn well better be prepared to face us all. The only way through is together and real solidarity. And together, I believe we can ensure that everybody has the housing they need to thrive. Thank you. And I am pleased to call up our next speaker and a dear friend, Mr. Wesley Thomas from Miriam's Kitchen. Wes, come on up.
Good morning. Today, I welcome you all with admiration. I'm Wesley Thomas, a member of Miriam's Kitchen Guest Advisory Board, Bridge Housing Community Advisory Team, an ardent homeless advocate. I have 29 years of lived experience. From 1988 until 2017, I slept outside on cardboard, sleeping bags, and blankets. So I know firsthand what it's like to be disenfranchised, not knowing where to sleep or where my next meal would come from. Penniless, frightened, with only the clothing on my back. In 2017, with the help of Miriam's Kitchen Street outreach team, I was able to secure permanent supportive housing. Once housed, I decided to give back and pay it forward to those still living unhoused on DC streets. Yes. Miriam's Kitchen invested in me, so now I dedicate significant time, effort, and energy to ensure that others do not fall into the cycle of chronic homelessness. So I connect them with numerous resources throughout the city, along with housing. Since I've been housed, I've helped 47 individuals to put keys in their own apartment. Clearing homeless encampments achieves nothing to address homelessness. It often makes it worse. Encampment evictions are a travesty in the already complicated lives of the unhoused. They solve nothing but to further traumatize the already unhoused, never once being treated with the dignity or respect due human beings. This approach disrupts trust and rapport between the unhoused service providers and makes it more difficult to connect people and housing and life-saving services that they truly need. So I'm calling upon the city's leaders to invest in permanent supportive housing and homeless street outreach, along with other proven solutions. That's right. We can do better. We must do better. Housing now. Thank you.
What do we want? Housing! When do we want it? Now!
Thanks, Wes. Let's give it up for Wes one more time. Wes has gotten, he said, 47 people housed. Not the government, not nonprofits. Wes. That's incredible. Let's give it up for him. And next up, we have Renee Willis, Executive Director of the National Low Income Housing Coalition, a brilliant leader. Thank you for being here, Renee. Take it away.
Hello, friends. How are you? It is such a beautiful day to be out here and to make our voices heard. And we are going to be loud about it this day and beyond this day, right? Yes. Well, I don't really have to tell you why we're here, right? And you've heard it already from some of the speakers before me. Housing now. Thank you back there. Housing now. Not later. Because we are here because housing programs in communities that depend on housing right now the housing and homes are under serious threat. And this administration is expected to propose massive cuts to HUD's vital affordable housing and homelessness programs, including dangerous overhaul of the Housing Choice Voucher program that could shrink, not expand, the number of households receiving help. This is not a policy tweak. It's a direct threat to the lives of millions of people. Let's be clear, HUD programs are not optional, they are essential. They're what keeps families in homes, it's what help communities rebuild after disasters, and it's what ensures civil rights and fair housing laws are enforced. HUD provides rental assistance to more than 8.6 million people, and over 2.2 million people rely on housing choice vouchers to afford rent in the private market. Now imagine what happens when those supports are stripped away. We have already imagined, because that's why we are here today, standing in solidarity. And it's not just about preventing cuts. Congress must increase HUD funding just to cover the cost of renewing existing vouchers, but that's not all. There are 60,000 households who rely on emergency housing vouchers. Vouchers that have been a lifeline for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. The Emergency Housing Voucher Program has been one of the most successful housing initiatives we've seen, helping nearly 60,000 people and families, especially families with children, find and maintain stable housing. It works, it saves lives, and now it's on the chopping block. At the same time, the administration is also trying to decimate HUD's workforce. The very people who make these programs possible. HUD staff ensures funds are used legally, efficiently, and fairly. And let's be clear, without them, these programs will collapse. Let's be even realer. You can't run programs without people. You can't house families without funding. And we are already in a national housing emergency. There is a shortage of 7.1 million affordable homes for people with extremely low incomes. 3 out of 4 of those households pay more than half of what they earn on rent alone. That's right. And that leaves nothing for groceries, nothing for medicine, nothing for school, and nothing to fall back in times of crisis. One flat tire, one missed paycheck, one emergency room visit, the family spiral into eviction and homelessness. And now the administration wants to take even more. We are here to say, not on our watch. We will not let Congress rubber stamp a budget that guts HUD. We will not stand by while families are pushed to the brink. We demand bold action, we demand real investment, and we demand housing justice right now. Housing justice right now. Let's say it together. Housing justice right now. Housing justice right now. Thank you all.
Thank you, Renee. Next up, we have Alicia Shaw, Miss Cook County's Teen 2025, who came all the way here from Cook County to DC. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I am here not only as your Miss Cook County's teen, all the way from Chicago, Illinois, sharing my story, but I am here as an advocate for homeless and justice. For 277 days, my family experienced homelessness. We stayed in a shelter outside in our car, but most importantly, what I noticed during my time being unhoused was the lack of empathy that our homeless community gets. I want to encourage all of you to move forward from this rally with a heart and a place for our unhoused community. Sheltering Dreams Across America is a nonprofit I started turning my lived experience into advocacy. And we are here to encourage all of you to have open hearts when dealing with the unhoused community. It's hard enough being unhoused and not having a place you can truly feel at home. But it's even more important when you have a community of those supporting you, showing you that there is life outside of your circumstances. For 277 days, I felt hopeless. I felt uneasy with no place to call home. My first year of high school, I got ready for my first high school dance in the bathroom of a storage room in Riverside, California. But nothing could tell me that my story wasn't going to change lives. So here I am, urging all of you to scream #HousingNow, because our unhoused community not only needs a place to call home, but they need all of us to stand there with them and tell them that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Please give Miss Cook County a round of applause. Miss Alicia Shaw. And we so thank you all for being here today. As a person who experienced homelessness myself, I understand that it's a feeling of invisibility. You feel like you're separated from the human race. And it's so important for people, and I hope everybody listening who is homeless knows, that there are people who care about you. There are people who've got your back. And we're here because we care. We're here because we want to make sure that your life is better, and everybody's life is better when people have a safe home. So we hope that we all remember that, and we hope that those that are listening, you know that there are many, many people here that have your back, that are working to make sure there is change, and you are not alone. We're going to continue with our speakers. Our next speaker is an amazing colleague and friend. and helps really to make sure that people have the resources that they need to be able to make sure people are housed successfully. And I'm going to bring up Amanda Indiri from Funders Together to End Homelessness.
Good afternoon. Oh, come on, I need you louder than that. Good afternoon. Last year, I stood at the Supreme Court as our government decided whether it was legal and okay to ticket and arrest and fine people who are homeless in our community. I told you the ancestors marched on Washington were whispering to me to keep going until freedom. Because we know our freedom, the promise of America, cannot be fulfilled until everyone in our community has a safe and affordable place to call home, right? I know some of you may feel a little hopeless right now as leaders in our government make cuts to programs and services that help those in our communities with the most basic of needs. Housing for folks at all income levels, food and health care. I came by here to tell you and remind you again that I actually am more hopeful than ever. I have hope because our Black and Native American ancestors survived genocide, slavery, Jim Crow, and being unjustly taken away from their families to boarding schools. They did not obey in advance of unjust policies and laws. They fought for their freedom through obstacles many of us can't even imagine. Their blood and sweat are running through us and demands that we have hope. And we turn that hope into action. Is that right? As my good friend Ashley Woodard Henderson reminds us, hopelessness is the enemy of justice. And if we don't have the audacity to believe we can win and have hope, we are doing the opposition's work for them. Do we have hope? Yes! We know that America was not built on equality or equity and is still suffering from the pains of racism and oppression. I have hope because so many of us are not backing down from diversity, equity, and inclusion, and dare I say justice and liberation. We are not backing down because we know those are not bad words just because someone says they are. They are the very words that with action behind them will make America live up to its promises. Communities where folks from every background can thrive. Policies that ensure equal and equitable access to everyone, regardless of their race and identity or background. And homes that allow everyone to be included, from our aging parents to our friends with disabilities and our immigrant neighbors. I have hope because the attacks on housing for everyone, the attacks on our unhoused neighbors are only happening because they know that we are winning. We are winning the fight to make home possible for everyone, and that threatens some people who have long had the power to decide who gets safe and affordable places to live. We are winning, folks, because more people want to see equity, inclusion, and diversity in their communities, and work to make home possible for everyone is the path to that beloved community. Until freedom does not mean we just fight with our words. It means we build the beloved community that Dr. King envisioned. We will not fight from a place of despair. We will fight and win by building solidarity and organizing for abundant housing with all people, for all people. We are closer than we've ever been, and that's why the opposition fights so fiercely. But I believe there are more folks on the side of freedom and justice. They just need an inclusive space to belong to that is free of the burdens that come from fighting for our basic needs. In this space lies the possibility to actualize the joyful, liberated world we want for everyone. It is dark right now, friends, and I know that. But my faith tells me joy comes in the morning. Get ready, we have hard work to do, but hard work is joyful work. It is the work of a hopeful people that keep fighting until freedom. Until freedom? Until freedom! Until freedom!
Thank you so much, Amanda. Really, really powerful. Thank you for bringing faith into the discussion. Faith is so important when we do this work. And we have a really esteemed speaker coming next. She is the executive director and president. And if I get people's titles wrong, please forgive me. Okay, there's a lot of titles here. But the executive director and president of the National Organization of Women, or NOW, Christian Nunez.
Good morning, everyone. Are y'all ready to fight?
Yeah!
But are you really ready to fight? Yeah! And I don't mean like this violent fight. I mean fighting for the freedoms, fighting for our justice, fighting for our equality, fighting for our right to be treated how we deserve to be treated. I'm so excited to be here and always work with Donald and Homeless Coalition. And I am excited to be here representing NOW as the president of NOW. And I thank all of you for being here today, because movements cannot take place, changes cannot take place without our organizers, without our activists, without the people on the ground that are doing the work. We need you for this movement and this time. We are here today, and we're not just gathered to talk about policy change, but to declare a simple truth, and that is, housing is a human right. It is not a privilege. It is not designed for people who can afford to buy their way through life, who can afford to oppress people because of their color or their gender identity or their past statuses with the law. It is not a reward for perfection. It is a basic necessity that we all need, just like food and water and the right to breathe. Every person deserves to survive, thrive, and fully exist in this world. And our legislation, our government, they cannot tell us that we don't deserve this right, because we do. It doesn't matter our race. It doesn't matter our mental health status. It doesn't matter if we have past incarcerations. Every person deserves the dignity of safe, stable, and affordable housing. But right now, yes, every person. But unfortunately right now what we're seeing attacks on our rights to exist. We're seeing these attacks extremely harder if we fall into, as Pastor Sister just said, the DEI communities. If we're marginalized, they want to criminalize marginalization. They want to tell us that that is bad. Yet too many of our communities are simply trying to meet their basic needs and are facing being arrested and ticketed and pushed further into poverty, all for trying to survive. But let me be clear right now. It is impossible for anybody, anyone in this world, to be able to get to this so-called level of prosperity if you do not have your basic need of housing and shelter. You cannot heal, you cannot grow, you cannot dream if you're always living in survival mode. If we want to empower people, we must first ensure they have the fundamental needs of a roof over their heads and a stable roof over their heads, food on their tables, and clean water to drink. Housing is not just about the brick and mortar. It's about investing in our communities. It's about disrupting systems that have intentionally denied us housing and our rights because of our race, gender, identity, and level of past convictions. And it's about ensuring that we end discriminatory mortgage practices and rates and evictions that target the most vulnerable. It's about ensuring that anybody can go into an apartment complex or rent a house and not be expected to earn 4 times more than the rent when we are still keeping minimum wage at $7.29 an hour in 2009 since 2009. How can we not provide affordable costs of living wage and then expect people not to experience homelessness? There's a problem with this math. Math is not math, am I right? The math is not math. So that's why this is more than a policy issue. This is a moral imperative. A nation that fails to house its people, it's not a nation. and it cannot call itself that. A community, that's right, it's a business. A community that turns itself away from the suffering is not a whole community. So today, it is our job to continue to uplift our voices. Make sure that everybody hears us.
Yeah.
Make sure that everybody knows that we exist. We are enough just as we are. Say it, we are enough.
We are enough.
We are enough.
We are enough.
And say, I deserve.
I deserve.
Housing.
Housing.
I deserve.
I deserve.
Housing.
Housing.
And we're going to make sure that everybody hears that. And we're going to show up at their offices. We're going to show up on the streets. And we're going to continue to push forward until all the injustice is enough. Injustice is enough. It is not enough. So we have to push against it. And we will make sure that every person is housed and every community is stronger. And we will fight that housing injustice until we see the full liberation. Thank you.
Christian, thank you so much for those powerful words and your advocacy on behalf of women in America. We have some amazing speakers here today, and we're going to keep going so that we get you out of here in time and we can get to the next event. But our next speaker is someone I've known for over 20 years at this point. I've seen him continue to develop in his career, and he is now at really the pinnacle of his career. So I want to introduce our next speaker, Albert Townsend, who is the Director of Lived Experience and Innovation at the National Alliance to End Homelessness.
Hey, how's everybody? Hey, it's really a lot of familiar faces that's still doing this work, so that's really cool. And also, I'm grateful for the new faces as well. As Donald mentioned, I am the Director of Lived Experience at the National Alliance to End Homelessness. And I just want to greet all the advocates, community members, friends, and families who's here today. But I'm inspired from the messages and words of wisdom that I received even prior to today, but even more inspired listening to the advocates or the voices of people here who tirelessly are doing this work through sweat, grit, and compassion. And those stories are really, really amazing. But as we embark on this journey together around bringing people home, let's be mindful that we all have a part to play. And each person has a place at the table and a role that's very instrumental while we're on this journey. Our lived experience leaders, in particular, have been working on behalf of our unsheltered community, making leaps and bounds across the country with boots on the ground, telling their stories of triumph and victory for many decades. But more importantly, working inside and outside of organizations around preventing and ending homelessness forever in a day. So the importance of our lived experience leaders to be integrated into this work at a very high and impactful level at this day and age is very, very critical. The Alliance actually did a lived experience partnership survey with 1,000 lived experience leaders and 500 organizational respondents. And the vast majority of respondents agree that ideas and feedback from people with lived experience help prevent homelessness, identify more people that may be homeless, and help provide more services to people in communities. So it's evident that we need to continue to do this work together to ensure that our lived experience leaders and their talents are centered at the core of this work, and that we continue to recognize their relationship as a valuable ingredient in the back office, front lines, and in leadership.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
To harness this work, we must develop together a shared value system that's driven by faith, hope, joy, love, and respect. This value system will help us see our lived experience leaders for their diverse background and expertise, and helping us to problem solve and create a sense of belonging while we're on this journey together. We also must make a bigger investment in lived experience work and its people. The time of status quo is over. The lived experience work has been reinvented, and the talents of our lived experience leaders has excelled tremendously, and it's time to upgrade the value. Lastly, the roles and responsibilities of our lived experience leaders has drastically changed over the years and align more holistically to work strategically. Think about the idea around placing lived experience leaders in places and spaces where their talents align uniquely and genuinely. And in closing, think about the usefulness of our lived experience leaders and how they are a pivotal partner in ending homelessness across the country, and how working together synchronizes collaborations and lends support around bringing people home. So remember, our lived experience community, we see you, we acknowledge you, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Albert, thank you so much. Among all the other challenges that we see moving forward, we've heard that there may be really tremendous cuts to our federal workforce that is responsible for housing people in this country. And we will not stand for that. No more cuts. We can't accept cuts. We were already going in the wrong direction. We now have the highest numbers of homelessness in the history of this country. It's not the time to reduce the workforce. And so to talk about that today, I have two distinguished members of the American Federation of Government Employees. Dr. Ashake Robinson is the president of the HUD Local American Federation of Government Employees. Please come to the stage.
Good morning. My name is Ashake Robinson. I represent HUD employees that are working in the Washington, D.C. field office and headquarters in Los Angeles Day. And I'm here to tell you all that your fight is our fight. I'm grateful to be a part of an agency where 93% of the people actually believe in the mission. A few of those missions are ensuring fair housing, providing affordable housing, and ending homelessness. I could probably talk to you for the rest of the afternoon about what's been going on in that agency. And I've been asked time and time again to talk to people, and y'all, I'm tired. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of having to fight to do my job. I could talk to you about everything. They want to close HUD offices. Our HUD offices are the only face that anybody has to HUD. We have at least 50 or 60 offices. They want to go down to about 15. Wow. I could talk about that. I could talk about how they're trying to cut fair housing staff by 75%. That means that if you're being discriminated against, you don't have no place to go. You have no one to talk to about your complaint. They're even trying to have an impact on FHA mortgages. Who here has an FHA mortgage? That is a mortgage that actually allows you to have a low down payment, a nice interest rate. It allows you to qualify for some other housing opportunities. They want to make sure that the most vulnerable do not get it. They are actually changing laws and changing our rules right now. Last week, Donald Trump put the entire staff of the Interagency Council on Homelessness on administrative leave. At a time when we have more homelessness than we have had ever in this country, now they have taken away the tool that federal employees use to actually collaborate so that we can actually work towards fixing that problem. When agencies like HUD and the VA collaborate to work together to make sure that people actually have homes. And in part of an effort to support Donald Trump, the Secretary of HUD, Scott Turner, is actively working to increase homelessness. Doesn't that sound crazy? The man whose job it is to do this, he is trying to increase homelessness. How is he doing it? He wants to make sure that anybody that's living in a home that is receiving a voucher, and if they are not documented, that they can leave. But what he also fails to realize is that these people aren't even getting a voucher. They just live in the house. So what he's saying is, even if you aren't paying for it, we don't even want you in the house. Is that how a minister's at? Because I forgot to mention he's a minister. Oh my God. Does that sound really Christian to y'all? It don't sound Christian to me. The agency is relying on misinformation to substantiate cruelty to vulnerable populations. This administration may not care about our citizens, but federal employees have pledged to serve our citizens and work towards our mission. We do care about people. We are served, and we are doing our damnedest to make sure that the mission is fulfilled. So I said it before, and I'll say it again. Your fight is our fight. And when we fight, we win. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give it up again for labor. I am pleased to call up our next speaker, Miss Tracy Adams. Tracy is from Rochester, New York. She took the train for 11 hours to be here. Tracy is with one of my favorite organizations in the world, Vocal New York, who are fighting to end homelessness, the drug epidemic, and ensure that everybody has a safe place to live. Thank you for being here, Tracy.
Okay. So, good morning, everybody, and I want to hear it within your heart that you're here for real. So let me tell you about me. I am 63 years old. I was on crack cocaine for many years, okay? I was incarcerated at 54, 3 years in prison, okay? I'm fighting for the war on drugs. I'm fighting for housing. I'm fighting for mass incarceration, and also, October 31st this year, I'll be 25 years HIV positive, undetected, okay? So let me tell you something. 5 years ago, my landlord asked me to leave the day after my birthday, March 21st, okay? He wanted his apartment back. That's during the pandemic, COVID. So right now, right then, I was considered homeless. I didn't have nowhere to go. I slept from couch to couch, my children's couch. And even though they're my children, that's still not my home. Right. The home is where you put a key in. Can y'all turn your church around? Everybody wants a key to go into their home. You understand? Shelters don't have keys. Shelters are businesses. They don't care about the humans. Housing is a human right. And when you have housing, housing is also health care. Because today, if I didn't have the health care, which my children and I fought for, I wouldn't be here talking to y'all. Okay? I would have became detectable. Because people that are positive can't live in a shelter. Do you know what it's like to have HIV and be in prison and you got to walk around with your medication? You don't want to know. I'm here to tell you. So on March 26, 2020, I came out publicly about my status. My children know everything there is about me. So I'm here fighting for my family and for the people that are homelessness. Housing is health care. Housing is emotional, financial, spiritual, and mental. When you are housed, you excel in life. Children, you excel, baby, in life when you're housed. And I want y'all to hear it up there. You understand? Because these people right here, y'all are these people behind me, they're constituents. And if they don't get it right, they won't be there. Because what do you want? We want housing. And when do we want it? Now. And if we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. Because housing is a human right. And we fight every day. And every day he breathes life in me to come up here and fight for my people. So they need to know, even Jesus had a manger to be born in. Okay? Let's not get it twisted. And when it comes to Judgment Day, all of them going to have to answer to the Almighty. So right now, they need to get it right. Or get off the seat. And let somebody else sit down that's going to do it for us. Because housing doesn't have nothing to do with your race, your religion, or where you come from. Everybody deserves to be housed. So stop thinking you better than anybody, because them behind us is only a paycheck away, baby, from being unhoused, okay? So always remember, next year, we got to get to the midterms and do what we need to do and flip this, baby. Like you flip pancakes and sunny side eggs, flip that house. Because the people in all the states across the United States is banking on us. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Next up, we have my friend Monica Porter from the Bazelon Center for Mental Health Law. One of the things that our billionaire opposition likes to say is that we need to be able to throw homeless people in jail because they want to take care of them in jail because people need jails. They say people have mental health issues, so we got to throw them in jail. They say we got to arrest people to be compassionate. They say that we are the ones who don't care about people. They say that throwing people in jail is safe and moral. I want to lift up two names right now. One, a gentleman named Cornelius Taylor, and one, a gentleman named James Oakley, both of whom were killed during encampment evictions. Cornelius Taylor was killed by the city of Atlanta outside of Martin Luther King Jr.'s church on Martin Luther King Day weekend while they were throwing away his tent. James Oakley was killed over the winter when California was throwing away his tent. Killing people doesn't make people safer. Throwing people in jail doesn't make people safer. Locking up people with mental health issues doesn't make people safer. And I say this as a social worker, right? You cannot force someone into treatment. It does not work. It never has worked, and it never will work. And it actually makes people a whole lot sicker. So I'm so excited to call it Monica because we know that we have to come together as a movement to end homelessness, the movement to legalize drugs, the movement to abolish prisons, the movement to make sure that everyone has the care they need, because our opposition has said, y'all are all the same. So we got to come together and be the same and speak with one voice and be a solidified movement to ensure that everyone has the housing and support they need, because when we do that, everyone's going to be better off for it. Monica.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Monica Porter Gilbert, and I work at the Bazelon Center for Mental Health Law. We work for the rights of people with mental health and developmental disabilities to have what they need to live in their own homes and communities. The Bazelon Center started in the 70s to fight for people with disabilities who had been locked away in institutions. Over the years, we fought hard to bring more housing and better services, but we still have a long way to go. And now, instead of moving forward, we're on the brink of losing decades of progress. These cuts to housing and healthcare threaten to ruin lives, leaving people without what they need and putting them at risk of being institutionalized, incarcerated, or dying.
Yes.
Don't be fooled when politicians tell you that the only option is to lock people up.
That's right.
If they actually wanted to solve this, they know what to do. They'd invest in healthcare and housing, not jails and institutions. So we're here to tell them, don't cut housing and mental health services and then punish people for not having housing or mental health services. It doesn't have to be this way. We know the solution. All around the country, there are programs that meet the needs of everyone in the community. In Denver, Colorado, they've got mobile response teams made up of behavioral health clinicians and paramedics. Since 2020, they've responded to over 8,000 calls that would have otherwise gone to the police.
Oh my God.
And you know what happened? Crime rates dropped. Because the community had a program that was actually meeting people's needs.
Yeah.
That's right. In New York City, and everyone loves to hate on New York City, when people had access to supportive housing, that's housing plus supportive services, the use of emergency shelters dropped 60%, and incarceration dropped 85%. Not only do we know the solution, it actually costs us less than leaving people without help and treating them like criminals. The per day cost of serving one person in supported housing is 1/4 the cost of jail and 1/10 the cost of psychiatric hospitalization. Per person, per day. Look, y'all, everybody wants to be happy and healthy, all right? Just like cancer screenings support early detection and going to the dentist helps keep our teeth healthy, we need accessible mental health care. We don't have time, and we can't afford to go backward. We need community-based mental health care now. We need housing now. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Our next speaker is Rochelle Ellison from the National Coalition for the Homeless. I'm sure she knows everybody here. She doesn't need an introduction. Rochelle, thanks for being here.
We're going to hype this thing back up. What do we want? Housing! What do we want it? Now! What do we want? Housing! When do we want it? Now! I am Rochelle Ellison, a person who was unhoused for 17 consecutive years with co-occurring disorders. And today I stand in the gap for those that don't have a voice, and I've joined all these amazing organizations. Every door God allowed me to walk through. The Assistant Director of People for Fairness, on the Way Home Steering Committee at Miriam's Kitchen, on the Guest Advisory Board, different organizations I've walked through. First and foremost, I became a speaker for the National Coalition for the Homeless. That was my gateway into all these other organizations. And we need to fight. You know, the trickle-down dollars that come from the federal government, the trickle down to the local, is already affecting us. The resources are scarce. I'm on an amazing peer mentoring team at People for Fairness. We are in the front door services. We're on the front lines dealing with those unhoused, putting them in the HMIS system and getting them to their keys. And we're having such a struggle. We're not going to give up the fight. We're not going to give up. We're going to raise our voice because it's become our responsibility to stand in the gap for those that haven't had a voice or haven't found their voice yet. It is now a responsibility to fight for housing and health care, because housing now made me the woman that I am today to be able to stand in the gap and fight for these people. What do we want? Housing! When do we want it? Now! Housing is a human right! Fight, fight, fight! Housing is a human right! Fight, fight, fight! Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. Our next speaker is Dr. Everett Kelly from the American Federation of Government Employees. I'm so glad that labor is here today, because we know the people who are working well-paying jobs that are struggling to pay rent, that half of the people in this country have a hard time paying rent, and that 1 in 4 people are worried about imminently becoming homeless. This is a labor issue. This is a human rights issue. This is a justice issue. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Good evening, brothers and sisters.
Good evening.
Listen, I have to agree with my colleague, Dr. Robinson. She said that your fight is our fight. Yeah. How many of y'all agree with that? Yeah. Now, my name is Everett Kelly. I am the president of the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, representing over 820,000 federal and DC government workers. Today we're here not just as public servants, but as fighters for human dignity, compassion, and justice. This year, America faces homeless crisis unlike anything that we've seen before. Now, according to HUD's latest annual homeless assessment report, over 770,000 Americans were without shelter on a single night in January of this year. That's nearly 1 in every 400 people in this nation. Men, women, and tragically nearly 150,000 children sleeping in cars, shelters, or on our streets. Now, it's the highest number we've ever recorded. And some activists say that it may be grossly undercounted. Now, behind these numbers are real people. They are our neighbors, veterans who served our country, working families priced out of housing, and children forced to do homework by flashlight in the back seat of an automobile. These Americans deserve better from us. They deserve action, not abandonment. Yet, instead of meeting this crisis with urgency, this administration has chosen to dismantle the very program that keeps roofs over people's heads. Right now, HUD is facing catastrophic staffing and funding cuts. The administration is slashing the Office of Community Planning and Development, the Lifeline of Housing and Shelter Program, by 84%. Now, these cuts wouldn't just mean fewer houses built and fewer shelters open. They'll mean that we won't even know the true scale of this humanitarian crisis. Without the vital work of federal employees, for government is flying blind at a moment when clear vision is critical. Now, the burden that falls heavily on nonprofit organizations already stretched thin and now facing their own funding cuts. These groups rely heavily on federal support. With dismantled federal help, these organizations won't just struggle to serve, they'll struggle to survive. Now, our nation can't afford to abandon them, and we can't afford the social cost of turning our back on those they serve. Now, adding insult to injury, the administration has recently placed the entire staff of the U.S. Interagency Council of Homelessness on administrative leave. This is an agency specifically designed to coordinate our national response to homelessness, to help communities build strategies that actually reduce and prevent homelessness. Dismantling it is not just negligence, it's indefensible. It sends a chilling message that the most vulnerable among us do not matter to this government. They say it's the Department of Government Efficiency. I say it's the Department of Government Evil. Because to do the thing that this administration is doing is downright evil. And as the president of LGE, I see the same destructive pattern repeated across our federal government. Whether it's stripping collective bargaining rights, eliminating essential services, or purging dedicated career servants, these actions are part of a broader attack. An attack is not just on federal workers, but this is what we need to understand. This attack is against every American because it's an attack on your democracy. How many of y'all agree with me on that? Now, brothers and sisters, our fight is at AFGE is fundamental connected to the fight against homelessness. Because when you attack federal workers, you attack the foundation of public service. The idea that government exists to help, to protect, and to lift up all people, not just a wealthy few people. Now, but the movement also provides an opportunity. Together, let me tell you, together, y'all say together. Together we have the power. Together we have the power. Because the power is in us. I talk about we power because there is power in we. And together we have the power to insist on policies that reflect our values. That's rooted in compassion. Now, we can advocate loudly and clearly, right? Now, this is what I know. I know that it is, time for us to stand up. It's time for America to stand. And we must stand together. We declare that different choices must be made. Choices that prioritize human lives over budget, dignity over disrespect, and community over cruelty. What do you say about that? So let us remain united. Let us remain strong and determined. Let our voice echo through the walls of Congress. Now I hear ringing in my mind a question that was asked of Jesus. So when have we seen you needing a home and we did not take care of you? Jesus answered that question. He said, if you did it unto the least of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me. How many know it's time for us to call an account? Because one day there's going to be a separation from the sheep and the goat. And how many know the sheep is among you out here today? And the goats are where? Back behind us. And Jesus is going to call one of these days and we got to answer. So I say to you today, keep on marching. Keep on fighting. Keep on sounding your voice. But keep on praying. Because one day, by and by, I heard the sister say that weeping may endure for a night. But guess what? Joy is going to come. Let me hear you say, joy is coming. Joy is coming. Joy is coming. God bless you. And LG stand with you. Thank you.
Dr. Kelly, thank you so much. That was so powerful. We really appreciate, again, Labor being here. We want to take a little bit of a pause. We have our featured speaker coming, but before our featured speaker, we have a couple of additional speakers. Our next speaker is Josh Spring. Josh Spring is the president of the board of directors of the National Coalition for the Homeless. He brought 15 people experiencing homelessness, drove for 8 hours from Cincinnati. Please give him a round of applause.
Josh Spring from the Greater Cincinnati Homeless Coalition and the NCH board. The Republicans and Democrats that sit in this building behind us, they like to tell us that homelessness is complicated. that we need one more study to figure out what the best practices are to respond, that we need one more pilot to figure out what we need to do. We got to go out and we got to interview people and see why people don't want to be in shelter. They tell us it's complicated, but it ain't complicated. It is simple. 40 years ago in this country, a Republican president and a Democratic Congress decided to defund housing so that they could fund and pad the pockets of their billionaire puppeteers. And our people organized across this country. We marched, we rallied, we ripped the boards off of buildings, we took over buildings illegally, we formed shelters. We did all of this to keep our people alive through this systemic problem. And we got legislation passed. And then these people, the people in this building, the generations of people who have walked through these floors, they took that legislation and they took it from a focus on housing to a focus on just keeping some people going through homelessness. The fact is that all of the systems that we've got across this country, all of the continuums of care, all of it, if we do it all perfectly, we never make one mistake, it won't end homelessness. Do you hear me? If we do it all right, it won't end homelessness because the system is not intended to end homelessness. The fact is that it's simple. We need housing. We need housing that we can afford. And this current administration and this Congress, they want to take the little bit of relief that we have fought and people have died for. They want to take it away. They want to say, hey, you got supportive housing, not anymore. They want to say, oh, you're living outside. We're going to arrest you. We're going to put you in jail. We're going to lock you up in some parking lot somewhere. That's what they want to do.